look, there we are. Ugh. Okay. Hello.
So are we up?
Yeah. There's a lag. You gotta remember. It's probably extra laggy because, of the way we have to do this.
Because I'm here and you're there?
Yeah. It'd be like that sometimes.
Not...
Okay.
Oh, jeez.
Well, hello, everyone out there in Facebook land.
Hi.
Welcome to another episode of the Crushed and Pressed podcast, but this is the stay-at-home order edition. So
yes.
Andrew's in her lovely home far, far away from me.
Yeah.
If things get a little laggy now and then, it's just because of the distance between us. Anyway, I'm Flip.
I'm Ange.
I'm pointing because, I'm looking at you through here.
It's like, your turn.
Today we are going to be talking about the kind of unsolved case about Adam Walsh.
Yes. But first, a disclaimer. If you guys have joined us before for one of these, you know that we are going to be talking about murder. And this time it involves the death of a child. And, in some way it's a little unsolved. We go through a lot of the suspects. And then, of course, we have mouths on us because we're those kind of, so we cuss every once in a while. So if you have children nearby, maybe put on some headphones and sit back, relax, and join us. But first, hey, Flip, how was your week?
Well, I'm a social worker, so I am essential. I am considered a first responder in the state of Florida. So I have been working. Majority of my time has been spent at home, but occasionally I do have to go out and do like a yard visit with one of my families. But it's been nice to be at home because then I can catch up on all my murder documents and, all my murder TV shows. And I found something on YouTube where they do murder mystery and makeup Mondays. That's a lot to say, but it's super cool to watch because she does all kinds of crazy stuff for their makeup while she's talking about murders.
Nice.
And what about you?
That's fun. Okay, so like you said, Florida finally has a stay-at-home order for all of us non-essential bitches, and I'm one of them non-essential. So I today went ahead and contacted all of my clients and let them know that I am following that order, and so that's why we're recording this way. I have been deep cleaning my own house and starting. I'm going to start doing online tutorial from my house on how to get your house clean the way I clean it when I go into clients' houses. Okay. So that'll be fun. And then I've been learning new things like what we're doing right here with Discord conferencing and Zoom conferencing and how to play games with friends long distance through Zoom and through, Steam? Yeah. We've been playing a lot of Clue and Ticket to Ride. So board game because I'm not a world builder type person. I like my game to have a beginning, middle, and end. One of those.
We're gonna get Ange to play City Skylines one day.
Oh, good God. What's that game that y'all are all playing that Kelvin just banned somebody because they stole
Animal Crossing?
Yeah, I'm not playing that.
Lame. Joey's playing Animal Crossing right now just because I'm not on it because that's where I spend most of my free time.
Jesus.
It's totally fun.
No. God. Okay, so Jesus. So Flip, you're the one that suggested Adam Walsh.
Yes, I am.
Why? Let's talk about why it has meaning to us and why we decided to do it.
So, as I just stated in my great intro here, I am a social worker. So, for us, when we have children who are either going to be placed out of state or we have families that are here, we do what's called an Adam Walsh background check. Essentially, that just means that there is a national database where either sexual offenders or other people who abuse children, that information goes into that database so I can search literally any of the 50 states to get that information, except for like, I don't know, Oklahoma doesn't do that, and I don't know why, but they don't. But other than that, most of our states do follow the Adam Walsh laws that we have to follow here in Florida.
Okay. Mine's a little different angle on that. I used to work retail, and originally when I graduated college, I was working as department store manager at JCPenney, and I wanted to eventually own my own box store. So that's one of those JCPenney's that's not attached to a mall.
Okay.
And during our training, we go through the Code Adam training, and we have the little blue sticker on the front of our stores, and we're all trained in the Code Adam process, which we'll talk about at the end.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where I looked into it and said, why is it called Code Adam? I didn't know if ADAM stood for something, and then you find out there's a whole case and a real person behind it, so.
Right. So this case itself is pretty big here in Florida. If anybody who is watching is familiar with this case, please feel free to kind of just like chime in the comments. If you have any information on that, definitely just pop right in and let me know.
Yes, please.
Ange can't really see the comments here, so I'm going to be responding to comments as they kind of pop up here.
Yeah.
So if I don't see your comment right away, it might be because my head is in my notes and not on the screen.
And remember, you guys, we have a delay anyway, so you send your question. It's going to take us like 40 seconds before we see it, and then we'll respond. So give us a hot minute.
Today, we are definitely changing up our normal format. So like normally, one of us will do the bulk of the research, and then somebody else will kind of just be here to chime in, and they do like a small bit of research on the case. But because this is such a large case, we've both done our own separate types of research. So I'm going to be covering a majority of the investigation, whereas Ange will be covering kind of the aftermath and what has happened since this case.
Yep.
And do you want to start with this overview here?
Yes. So we have an overview. In 1970, 6-year-old Ethan Patz disappeared while walking to his school bus stop, and he became the first kid to have his picture profiled on a milk. So like I said, Code Adam is a thing that came from a real story. Well, those pictures on a milk carton came from an original child too, and this is him. His case, like the case that we're discussing today, altered legislation to assist in the methods of tracking down missing children. And we're going to be covering Ethan's case at a later date. Also, maybe the one for the Amber Alert. There's other ones that resulted from real kids. 2 years after Ethan disappeared, Adam Walsh became the new and literal poster child for the movement to stop child snatchers, which had already existed during the 70s. But those activists had largely been concerned with children who were taken by family members during custody disputes, or about kids who had run away from home. And they were frustrated by the police department's sluggish response. Some of these had a 72-hour waiting period before they would do anything. And if you notified your police department, they didn't necessarily notify the department in a neighboring county and sharing stuff across lines. So there weren't like coordinated searches going on.
Yeah.
Adam Walsh, his much publicized murder was the catalyst for the change as law enforcement learned how to deal with missing. So buckle in, guys.
Jeez. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about Adam. Adam was born November 14th, 1974 to John, and I believe it's Rev Walsh?
Riva,
is that it?
Reeve.
Okay. Reeve.
It's like Reeve. Renee, but Reeve. Yeah, Reeve. Whatever. Say it how you want to.
If somebody wants to teach me the correct pronunciation, they can pop that in there too.
Yes, please.
Adam, his family was a little interesting, I guess is the best way for me to put that. His father, John, was an official at a hotel that was based in the Bahamas, but he lived in Hollywood, Florida with his family. But due to this job, he's constantly traveling back and forth. So because he's constantly traveling back and forth, he's worrying about the safety of his family. He has a friend, James Campbell, who comes in at first just to kind of check on his wife and son, and then he eventually moves in with them, and he lives there for about 4 years. in that 4 years that he is living there, he and Reeve.
I think it's Reve.
Yes, Reve.
Yeah, because I was like, it sounds like Renee, but it's
Reve.
with a V.
So he and Reve, you know, he becomes Adam's father figure, and he becomes Reve's husband in almost every sense of the word, husband. Yeah. That necessarily isn't something that's important right now in their backstory, but it does become important later as you move through the investigation. James took Adam to all of his baseball games. He ate dinner with the family nightly. He basically did everything that a father would do. And then when John would come back into town, he would step back into that father figure role, which had to be super weird for that family. I mean, not that Adam knew anything about what was going on with his mother and James when he was asleep. But John, of course, grows tired of being away from his family all the time. He really wants to, spend time with his wife and watch his son grow up. So he leaves his job and he comes back to town. He gets a job in town, and everything between Reve and James kind of stops. They really just want to become a normal family again.
Yeah.
So on July 27th in 1981, they describe it as kind of a normal day. They get up in the morning, they have breakfast. John and Reve had been talking about some lamps that were on sale at Sears. So she goes to drop off the check to Adam's school, and then they have lunch together. I think they said that Adam had a hot dog for lunch. That was like one of his favorite foods. And then they head over to the Hollywood Mall to go to the Sears. As they walk into the mall, there's a kiosk for the Atari, which that just lets you know how old this game. There is a kiosk for an Atari, and Adam really wants to stop and play this game. And normally his mom just would have him bypass it. She's not going to leave him there alone. But that day there happened to be a group of other boys there, so she said it's fine. She felt like he would be safe there with the other boys. She then goes back to look at the lamps. It turns out that the lamp she wants is not in stock, but she asks, do they have any in the back? And that whole process takes about 10 minutes. They tell her it's completely out of stock. So then she walks back to the video game section, and Adam's not there. So naturally, her first thought is maybe he went to the bathroom, or maybe he, walked around looking for me and didn't find me, or, a lot of people thought, I don't know if you guys have probably all done this, where you run around and you try to hide from your parents and the little things where the clothes are. Yep. So they're thinking that he might have done something like this, but then she starts searching around, and she's like, no, he's literally nowhere. He's not in the bathroom. I've searched all over the store. So she goes up to one of the employees, and they do the thing where they page the child over the PA system. And then his grandma happens to come in totally out of coincidence. She comes into the store and she sees Reve, and they have a picture of Adam, and I think
it's what's funny is he's wearing the same shirt in that picture that he was wearing that day. When they went to the store, he was wearing an Izod shirt, yellow flip-flops, and then an off-white captain's hat. And I think if you want to pull up the pictures,
that's the wrong.
I think there's one, and it's a montage of 3 pictures of him.
Is it not the one that's on the screen? Oh, you can't see it.
Oh, I can't see it.
But there's 3 photos on the screen. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm I can't see it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But they start showing everybody these pictures of him in the store, and what is it? I think 90 minutes goes by.
Yeah.
And then they eventually call the police. And then another hour goes by as they're waiting for the police to get there, which is freaking ridiculous because the police station is right across the street from the mall. There is no reason that it should have taken them 90 minutes to get
go
over
across
to
the
mall.
street.
They're across the street. And they called law enforcement, and they're not really taking this seriously.
No.
They're like, oh, he's just a little kid. He's probably just hiding somewhere or whatever, you know.
Or that, like, he got hungry and walked home for a snack. That's, I heard too. It's like, well, he's just a kid. Yeah.
Or they're thinking, like, he's in a mall, so if he didn't, like, walk home, he went to the food court, something like that. So, like, the officers are kind of just, like, searching around the mall and searching in the parking lot because maybe he's just hanging out somewhere. Eventually, the officers, they speak with both mom and dad. They speak with grandma, and then they speak with the teenage security guard.
Who's a girl?
This teenage girl security guard.
Her name's Kathy Schaefer. I found her name.
And she says, you know what? Earlier by the Atari station, I kicked out a group of boys because there was a little fight, and I kicked them out. So maybe he was waiting outside. Which, like, if he's waiting outside, these other little boys maybe know something. And the other little boys were like, yeah, he was there, but he was just an annoying little kid, so we don't really know where he went. We weren't watching him. These other boys are like, I think they said their ages range between like 10 and 13. So it's not like they were looking out for this little 6-year-old boy.
No, and he wasn't with them.
Right,
so
he's
why
not
would
part
they
of their
have
group.
been keeping tabs of him?
Right.
And I heard too that when she sent them out the west entrance of the store, and when Adam went to the store with his mom, it was always that same parking lot, and they'd come in the north entrance. So worst case, he's outside on the street with these kids he doesn't know, going, well, I have to go get to my mom, and he wanders off to go find another entrance. He's sick.
He's 6. He doesn't know any better.
Yeah.
So, they are now like, okay, maybe he found some older person who is offering to help him find his mom or something like that. Or, you know, somebody offered to drive him home, whatever. So instead of putting out an actual missing persons report, they put out a BOLO, which is like a be on the lookout. They put out a BOLO for him. Which, again, so now officers are driving up and down the streets just kind of hoping to see this 6-year-old boy in his little green t-shirt.
Well, and really just going about their business and being on the lookout versus an actual search.
Yeah, they're not actively looking for him. It's just like, oh, if we happen to see him, we'll stop. And that actually is a big part of the reason why John and Reve say that the police department completely botched this entire investigation, because there's a strong possibility that they would have been able to find him sooner if the cops had taken it seriously from the beginning. They said that they really should have been working this as a missing persons case from the get-go instead of just putting out the BOLO. Again, he's a 6-year-old child. At 6 years old, I might have known what my address was, but I couldn't, like, tell you if you're going to the right street or, like, that, like...
Yeah, get yourself directions home from the mall.
Yeah, no. I
actually, realistically, let me tell you, I used to have nightmares when I was little that I was lost around in my wheel and I couldn't get myself home.
No.
I know.
But, you know, like, that's a legitimate thing. Like, kids don't... You're not going to be able to find your way home as a child.
No.
So, unfortunately, on August 10th, which was 2 weeks later, they find a head in a drainage canal along the Florida Turnpike near Vero Beach. It just happened to be that 2 people were out fishing, and they found this head. Now, Vero Beach is 120 miles away from Hollywood, Florida. Over 120 miles away from Hollywood, Florida. But his parents are now still, like, they're holding out hope that this is not his head that's found. It wasn't until, I believe they actually sent James to identify the body, or identify the head.
Yes.
Because
they were supposed to be doing a Good Morning America appearance the same day the head was found.
Yeah, they were doing Good Morning America appearance for their $10,000 reward for him being found alive.
Yeah, and when you watch that appearance, the dad says something about they have like a body that they're they've taken in, and we don't believe that our Adam. We're still looking for him. Da 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 da. And then, like you said, they sent James to identify the head.
James was able to identify it by the teeth. Yeah, which in the picture that's on the screen right now.
I can see it now.
Okay, yeah, the picture that's on the screen.
Pulled up on a thing.
You can see the picture from his baseball photos, and he's missing the front teeth. The face itself was so badly mutilated, but the teeth, he could make out the teeth, and he knew. He was like, that's Adam's, like, signature smile, is what he said, which is really sad to me.
Well, and that's one because, like you said, the head had been in the water, like 100 and something miles, over 100 miles away from where he disappeared. And what happens to bodies when they're in water?
They bloat and they float and they boom.
So that's why they had to do the mouth part and not the face part.
Not the face part. But the injuries to his face we're also going to talk about in a second, because there were other injuries that had nothing to do with him being in the water.
Yep.
So, of course, due to that discovery, they opened up as a murder investigation, and they have officers in Indian River County do like a dive, and they search, and they don't recover his body. And to this day, his body has not been recovered at all.
Ugh.
So let's talk about our suspects. James Campbell is a suspect in this case, of course, because Reve was having an affair with him, and then after John came back, Reve broke it off, and they were thinking that maybe he had done this as kind of like a retaliation. They had also thought that maybe something was kind of like going on between James and Adam, because he had taken a like huge interest in him, and Angie had said that the night before his disappearance, James took him out to see a movie, and he was out really, really late, and it really pissed John off. Which I guess I can understand if you're taking an interest, but unfortunately, John at that time did not know about the affair. He didn't hear about the affair until after James had done a polygraph.
Yep.
And it got published in the newspaper.
Yeah, because he did the polygraph, the wife did a polygraph, and the cop said, you guys are both covering up this thing, and you guys need to tell John. Yeah. One of you two has to tell him. And they were both like, absolutely not, we're not going to tell him. They kept polygraphing other family members, and one of them, somebody else, another woman came forward and said, this is what's going on, and gave it to the dad. Yeah. There you go. She told the husband. Yeah. And so then it was out.
Right. So. It was out in the family, and then it's out in the newspaper, which is awful. But they're putting all their business out here, and it breaks as a huge news story. Like, that starts kind of like overtaking, because it's like hot gossip in Hollywood, Florida. That kind of overtakes Adam's disappearance for a little bit. Yeah. So John decides that he is going to continue his friendship with James and continue his marriage with Reve, because he thinks that them getting a divorce or them having this huge blowout is actually going to hurt the investigation. So James, he does his polygraphs, he does all this stuff, and he passes. Like, he genuinely wanted to genuinely find Adam alive. He and Adam were extremely close even after the whole relationship fell apart, and he really loved Adam like that was his own son.
Yeah.
So
and he was named Godfather as well.
He is Adam's he is Adam's godfather. So I see why he's named as a suspect, and he was named as a suspect right off the bat. Yeah. So I can understand.
Well, and like as I'm doing the research, I'm going, well, that guy did it. And
right.
As you get into it, like, oh, he didn't though.
No, he didn't. And I mean, I get it, but at the same time, he loved this little boy. He would do it. Then we have Edward James, who was arrested in November 1981 for abducting a boy in Pompano Beach. Now, I'm trying to really think about this. Hollywood, Florida, Pompano Beach. They're like, what, maybe 20 miles apart. I
don't know.
The reason why, I know, because I was down there for
I'm
a
from
time.
Texas. Yeah, I'm from Texas. I don't know.
But he was arrested in 81 for abducting a boy in Pompano Beach. And the only reason why he is named as a suspect is because his neighbors say that he was missing for the 2 weeks that Adam was missing. Right. And then his cellmate starts saying, like, oh, he talks about this case all the time. I bet he was involved. He was questioned in 1995, and he passed the computer voice stress test, which is like a fancy polygraph. And he's ruled out as a suspect. So then they move on to Donald Leroy Evans, who was another serial killer who is convicted of killing 3 people from 1985 to 1991. But he's only convicted of killing those 3 people, but, like, he's confessed to, like, over 70 murders.
Yeah.
But, of course, the other ones, they're not. Those aren't real. He made that up.
Right.
He was active in the Hollywood, Florida area around the time of Adam's disappearance, but his known victims were females, and he was known to kidnap people from, like, parks. So they didn't think that was very likely. Then we move on to, and this is like, okay, like, not in, like, the sense of, like, he did it, but this is just one of my favorite suspects in this case, because, like, what? So we move on to Jeffrey Dahmer, the people nommer.
He's the worst.
Also known as the Milwaukee Monster. So
he's the worst.
Super duper random here. Like,
yeah.
He pops up as a suspect because his dad calls into America's Most Wanted and says, you know what? I think Jeffrey's a pedophile. So they're like, oh, yeah, let's look into him because he's a pedophile. But also, he was working on merchant ships down in South Florida at that time. And a lot of people, when they were asked, like, outside of the mall if they had seen anything suspicious, they had stated that they saw somebody matching Jeffrey's description walking around the food court. And Jeffrey, at that time, had a blue van, and they had thought that maybe this blue van was involved in Adam's disappearance. Because they said that, oh, well, we saw somebody matching Jeffrey Dahmer's description getting into a blue van. Maybe that was him.
Also, y'all, if you don't know what Jeffrey Dahmer looks like, go Google this plain-looking idiot who could blend. It could be any. It's like, I'm trying to think of a band, like the Beastie Boys. If I didn't see them together, if I just saw one member of the Beastie Boys at the mall, I wouldn't know that it was a famous person. Same thing with Jeffrey Dahmer. If I see him outside of a jail, I don't know it's him. He's just so plain looking.
He really was just a plain looking dude.
No. And I had, real quick, something else on that blue van.
Yeah.
So it was a little boy and his mom said that they saw a blue van right out in the parking lot. And the cops said, okay, that's a legitimate lead. Let's start looking into this. And they started pulling over all these blue, and they thought maybe it was a Ford. And so they started pulling registration records, pulling over all these vans, checking. They never found anything in any of these vans. And it was, when was this? Long time afterward that they did a follow-up with that boy and realized the van they saw would have been seen an hour after his mom reported him missing. So that should have never been followed up as a lead to begin with. Like, again, that was just a huge waste of time.
Just wasting time here.
Yeah.
But so people are like, oh yeah, they're showing people pictures of Jeffrey Dahmer, and they're like, yeah, that's the guy that we saw taking Adam Walsh. Like, but did you really though? That's the guy we saw walking around the mall. Let's just say that Jeffrey Dahmer did happen to be in the Hollywood, Florida mall that day. Like, that is, the chances of you having 2 serial killers in the same place at the same time is just bananas.
Like, all right.
Y'all should have played the lottery that day, honestly. One of y'all would have
Well, you know,
won.
the 70s. The 70s, what a time to be alive.
Well, there were a lot of serial killers in the 70s, so it's possible.
It's true, it's true.
But Jeffrey was convicted of at least 17 deaths of young men, and he sexually assaulted a whole lot more.
Right.
They questioned him in 1991, and they went up to Wisconsin to question him, which was insane. Mm-hmm. But they questioned him in 1991, and they show him a picture of Adam's head. And when he was shown the picture, he says, nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
And then he later adds, if I did do it, I wouldn't confess because I don't want to die in prison.
Yeah. This from your friendly neighborhood cannibal, just so you'll know.
So I'm guessing the reason why he says this is, one, because he understands that if he does confess to this, he is going to be tried in Florida, and at the time Wisconsin did not have the death penalty, but Florida is a death penalty state. So he didn't want to have to like go be tried in Florida and have like the death penalty be an option if he was found guilty of this. Two, people who sexually assault and kill children are attacked in prisons.
Yeah.
That is
for sure.
The hell that they deserve, honestly.
Yeah, that's the best justice.
So yeah, he didn't want to be known as a child molester and a child killer because he's gonna obviously get killed in prison for it, which is great because he did die in prison because he was attacked by somebody completely unrelated to him murdering children. So what a fate, you know?
Right.
But even so, Adam didn't match any of Dahmer's victims. He had victimized people who were 13 and older that he was actually attracted to. And then he did pick up people from malls, but he really frequented like gay bars and things like that. So Adam really didn't match his MO. And then he later told police in 1992 when he was questioned again about Adam Walsh, he said that I told the police everything about my MO. I told them everybody that I killed. I told everybody that I cooked. I told them everybody that I ate. And he was like, if I was right.
I just, you forget.
He cooked and ate them. He
didn't just sit there and eat them raw. He had to cook them first. He had to cook
them, duh. Well, how else was he going to get rid of them? Like,
hold on. What's that meme? And it's someone saying, like, I'm searching for an air fryer that can handle a family of 7. And they're like, cool it, Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah. But he is basically like, if I was so open with all of these things that I had done previously, why the hell would I not tell you that I killed this kid?
Yeah.
At this rate, I told you all these people that I've murdered and eaten. Henry Lee Lucas, who confessed to killing Adam and then recanted it because he thought that confessing to killing Adam would give him some kind of clout.
Yeah.
Which is just so weird.
Is what, famous victim? And so you think
that's what he thought. Like, he was like, I'm going to get this famous victim. And
yeah, well, you hear that now. There's still people out there that confess to John Benet Ramsey.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, you fucking didn't. You weren't even around.
All the time.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I guess I get it. Oh, hi, Uncle Stanley.
Hello, Uncle Stanley. I'm Angela.
So then we move on to Otis or Otis. I say Otis. Some people say Otis. It really just depends on, where you're from.
It's got 2 T's, but it's still, I don't know.
I don't know.
What do we know?
Otis Elwood Toole. Otis Toole was a drifter. He was a 7th grade dropout, and he was a suspected serial killer. He basically was in that area for work, which is crazy because, I guess serial killers have to work too.
They have a day job. This is just their
This is their hobby.
It doesn't pay.
What did you say, Joey?
Normally, yeah.
Stupid.
No, what did he say?
Joey's on the floor over here. Do you want to tell Angela what you just said?
I'm sassy his arm. What did he say?
Go ahead. Repeat it for me. Repeat it for me, Joey.
So you can't buy stuff with murder points.
Oh! It's like exposure points for being a performer.
Is this you, Ange, Christian?
Hey, it's my cousin Christian.
Oh, he says, "Hey, what's up,
Baby
kids?"
girl.
Yeah.
What's up, baby? Hi, Christian.
So, Tool is incarcerated in Duval.
I have to let my cat in. Hold on one second.
Oh, okay, hold on. Social distancing at its finest, everyone. Oh wow, we can see a whole Ange right now, not just a half.
Sorry, the
Ange.
cat was screaming.
I'm about to yell Duval in the middle of this.
No.
Okay, anyway, Tool was incarcerated in Duval County. For all my Duval peeps, you know how we do
Duval.
it. Duval, you know how we do it. You know? So he confessed to abducting Adam with his good old buddy Henry Lee Lucas.
Ugh.
Like, what are the odds of two serial killers being best buddies like that? Actually, no, we're going to cover another case later on, but the toolbox killer who was best buddies with another guy.
Yeah, because they do. How the fuck do you find somebody else who has the same interest in murder?
Maybe there's like a group. Maybe they have like group meetings.
There's a secret handshake.
Yeah.
There's a special way you twitch your eyes when you see
Yeah.
somebody and no.
You like do like a double wink at them, and they're like, "Oh, me too, bro."
It's that slow blink you give your cat to tell them you love them.
Yeah, they have a
nerd.
they have a fan club, and they all like try to outdo each other. That's what it is.
Ugh.
But he confesses and basically says, like, me and Henry Lee Lucas, we kidnapped Adam, and Henry Lee Lucas is the one who beheaded him and threw his head in the ditch. But I was there. I kidnapped him with him.
Mm.
One little problem, Tool. Henry Lee Lucas was already in jail, you freaking idiot. Like,
Yeah.
Henry Lee Lucas was in jail in Maryland at the time of Adam's disappearance, so how the fuck did he do it? Like,
Yeah, well, and isn't there a thing too? People that commit the crimes, instead of just because they know they're already going to they did it, they're confessing to it, but they don't want to confess to everything.
Right.
So they try to take the worst part of it. So, okay, yeah, I was there, the kid was killed, but I'm not the one that beheaded.
yeah.
What the fuck? You were there and he was killed.
Because that's the worst part out of it, is the beheading, not the rest of the shit that you did to him.
Yeah. Jesus.
So Tool, he's a really cool dude, I guess. He's like, yeah, I killed him. And he confesses to killing him twice, and then he recants each time. But they said that when they're doing the interrogations with him, Tool, and I mean, I know he has a 7th grade education, but I don't know if maybe he was cognitively delayed or something, but he has like these breakdowns while he's confessing to this.
Yeah.
Where he starts like freaking out in the middle of the confession, and he finishes the confession, has a freak out, cries, and then he's like, never mind, I didn't do it.
Right.
And I don't know if maybe in the same way that Jeffrey Dahmer was like, hey, I would never confess to this anyway because I'm not trying to die here.
Yeah.
Maybe that's his same thought process. Like, hey, if I confess to this, these people are going to kill me.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good way, too, to get it off your chest. I went ahead and said it, and then immediately, oh, now I regret saying this out loud. Never mind.
Right.
Have a breakdown.
And they had also said that, like, kind of, like, minor details were wrong.
Yeah.
He had said that, I think he said that Adam was wearing, like, a red shirt, but he wasn't. Like, there were just little tiny things that were incorrect with his confession. But for the most part, like, the details that he's saying are details that weren't necessarily put out in the newspapers or weren't put out in news articles or even in the movie.
Oh, hey. Yeah, so the movie. Okay. I found this in the Seattle Times.
Mm-hmm.
There was a TV movie that aired. It was called Adam, and it was starring Daniel Travanti as John Walsh, and it was on at 9 p.m. on October 10th, and then at 9 a.m. on October 11th, the Jacksonville detectives telephones the Hollywood telephones Hollywood and says that an inmate in Duval County wanted to. So it's like immediately after that movie aired. But the movie didn't include some of the details that he did confess to.
Yeah. Like, he was giving them extremely detailed things about this case that were not at all involved in this movie, or, like I said, in the news.
Yep.
So...
Hi, Marissa.
Wait, what? I don't see her comment yet. You're, like, looking at it actually on Facebook.
Yeah. She didn't comment. It just pops up and says she's watching, so...
Oh, okay. So... Tool then in 1991 there's a man in Hollywood, Florida who tells detectives that a man matching Tool's description lured a boy matching Adam's description into a black and white Cadillac. Now, this is again an interesting detail because Tool in both of his confessions, he says that he lured Adam into a Cadillac.
Yep. And there you go.
So there you go. They just took 2 and 2 and they went boop.
Yep.
Then, I found Tool's confession and I kind of just put it right here in my notes. So, Tool says that he is driving around the mall and he sees Adam standing outside of the mall after he was kicked out by the security guard. And Adam is visibly upset because he can't find his parents. Tool then lures him into the car by telling him, hey, I see that you're upset. Let me get you some candy and some toys.
Ugh.
Such a fucking creep.
Because he's 6. He's a baby.
So he gets in the car and Tool starts driving up I-95 back to Jacksonville. And, Marissa says we made it work today. Yes, we did. We figured it out. Really, Joey figured it out. I
was going to say, by we mean Joey. Joey did this. We don't know what we did. We just look real smart.
Joey said, we.
I plugged my mic into my computer and sat here and said, like, good.
So he starts driving him up I-95 towards Jacksonville, and Tool states that Adam was really, really compliant at first. Of course, because you offer him toys and candy. So he's really compliant at first, and then the further they get away from Hollywood, Florida, Adam starts freaking the fuck out. He is screaming and crying. He wants his mom. He wants his dad. He wants to know where they're going. He wants to go back home. And Tool is starting to get pissed off. And like I said, I think in a couple of the articles and like podcasts that I've listened to on this case before, Tool has a bit of a cognitive delay. So when Adam starts to get upset, it really, really frustrates Tool because he doesn't know how to process it.
Yeah. So
he punches Adam in the face, thinking that this will work. Obviously, it does. Joey's laughing.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
He punches Adam in the face, and of course, this only makes shit worse. Like, and now Adam is really freaking out because this man just punched him in the face, and he's in pain. So, Tool says, in his own words, he says, then I just kept walloping him until he went unconscious.
God damn. This little boy is 6. He's tiny.
And this grown man beats the crap out of him so that he stops talking.
Can you put up that picture of Tool?
Yeah.
Y'all have to look at this motherfucker. He's disgusting.
I mean... There we go.
Do I have a picture of Jeffrey Dahmer in there too?
No, I thought you did at first. I was like, Jeffrey Dahmer, the people number.
Yeah.
That's Otis Toole there on the screen. He looks like a freaking creep.
Charming.
Really, truly charming, dude. So then Toole says that he gets on the turnpike, which, if he gets on the turnpike, I'm trying to think here. He would have gotten on the turnpike right as soon as he got into, like, St. Lucie. Port St. Lucie.
Oh, that's like... Oh, okay. I know where that is.
I was going to say, Port St. Lucie, that's, like, a common area that people know about.
I used to have a relative that lived there. Like, that's the only reason.
Down in PSL?
Yeah.
I I have a good friend who lives down there.
Nice.
But, huh? Yeah, somebody lives in pumpkin spice latte. You twit. Like, so he gets on the turnpike and he turns around. This guy beat up a little child. Yeah, he absolutely did.
Yeah.
He turns around.
He beat up a 6-year-old boy who was crying.
A 6-year-old little boy
He had
who
already
was
been
crying for. He's so creepy looking. Yes, he is, Kim.
He's the worst.
So he beats Adam unconscious, and then he starts driving down the turnpike, and he turns around and he sees Adam is badly beaten, but he's still breathing.
Yeah. God,
Which
kid.
I don't know, like, where the, like, turn in his head was like, okay, I just beat the crap out of him. Now I have to kill him. So he pulls over on the side of the road, gets in the back seat, and strangles Adam with a seatbelt. Yeah, 6-year-old is a baby. Like, he didn't know any better, you know? He turns around and he gets in the back seat and he strangles the little boy with his seatbelt. And then he grabs a machete from the back seat and beheads Adam Walsh.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine decapitated a 6-year-old child with a machete.
Yeah.
And
well, and why did he say originally he took him?
So Toole wanted a son, and obviously, I mean, look at the guy. He couldn't find anybody to have a son with. So, and he's also a serial killer, so, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So you can't find anybody to have a son with, and Kim says she can't. I can't either.
I know, we can't either. That's why, well, and that's, you gotta, go through this stuff to make sure everybody knows that this is what happened, this is why certain things are in place.
Right. So Toole says that he wants a son, and he can't find anybody to have a son with, so he's just going to kidnap one and force him to be his son. So he sees Adam, and he's like, holy shit, perfect opportunity. I've always said I wanted a son, and look, this little boy is just standing here on the corner by himself. So he takes Adam, and once Adam starts freaking out in the car, Toole realizes, like, I'm never going to actually be able to adopt this kid as my son because he has such a great bond with his parents, and he knows that I'm not. He's too old. He knows that I'm not his dad, which is a really fucked up thing to, like, think about.
Yeah.
But he's like, I've kidnapped a child who's too old to tell whether I'm his dad or not. So now that I've done this and I beat the crap out of him, I gotta kill him. So he strangles him, he decapitates him, and he throws his head in the the drainage there on the side of the turnpike, takes his body back with him to Jacksonville, and incinerates his body inside a refrigerator. He takes the refrigerator, shoves Adam's body inside of it, and sets it on fire, and burns this little boy's body.
So that's why we don't have the body.
Which is why we don't have a body anymore. Then Toole is later arrested for another crime in Duval, and the car that he was driving, this black and white Cadillac, gets impounded. So it's sitting at the impound lot. Of course, Toole is not ever charged with Adam's death, but due to his confession and how much, and how much detail he gave, he's presumed to be Adam's killer.
Right. And that's the thing. They call the case closed.
Right.
As of right now, this case is closed. And that's why we have access to all this stuff. It's not still an active investigation, but he was never formally convicted and punished for this.
Correct.
So that's kind of why, when we said in the beginning it's unsolved,
it is
technically, yeah, in the eyes of the law, it is unsolved. Right. But we all know.
Kim says she can. This is mega terrible. I'm overwhelmed with disgust. It is probably,
I know,
aside from Aileen Wuornos, this is probably like one of the most notorious cases we have here in Florida.
Yeah. The good thing, if you stick around, it does get better. A lot of good stuff came out of it, but we got to get through the really bad part first.
Kim, it happened in 1981.
Yep.
So in 1997, Rick Stone, who is an investigator in Hollywood, Florida, he had been working in Wisconsin and all over the place, really. He has 25 years of service for the police, and he reads John Walsh's book, and he's like, I'm really, really interested in this case. He wants to know, and he wants to review all of the evidence that they have. Yeah. So he is able to get copies of all of Toole's interrogations, but unfortunately, when he goes to the Hollywood Police Department Hollywood, Florida Police Department, I'm sorry, we should probably specify that. When he goes to the Hollywood, Florida Police Department, he discovers that all of the evidence has basically been misplaced, except for a couple of, like, blood samples and things like that.
Yeah. Misplaced.
Yeah, misplaced. Ugh! Now, remember that this is Toole still incarcerated. I'm going to tell you that in a second, Marissa. But, no, he's not still incarcerated. Because he's dead.
There's a reason. He's dead. Yeah. He died. Gone to the great beyond. Thank God. He's in the world's biggest prison.
Yeah, in hell. Yes. But he starts to review all of this evidence, and he gets blood samples. That's about it that's left. He hears all these interrogations with Toole, and he's like, oh, the car. Let me see if I can find the car. Now, remember that this Adam Walsh case, technically at this time, is still an open investigation. It is not a
What year?
1997.
Yeah.
It is not a cold case. It's still an open investigation. So he's like, oh, this car is involved, and everybody says this car is involved. Let me call up Duval and get this car. And Duval County is like, well, about that. You see, that car wasn't connected to a murder here in Duval County. That car was connected, I think it was like a robbery or something. That car is connected to something else, so we took it to the impound lot, and then we sold it at an auction. But don't worry. Don't you worry. We know who we sold it to. So they give him the information about the person they sold it to, and then dude's like, oh, well, I got it. It was a piece of shit, didn't run, so I sold it to a junkyard. But maybe it's still there, because I think he said he only sold it to the junkyard like a month before.
Yeah.
Anyway, he gets to the junkyard, and the car is destroyed.
Specifically the back seat where everything fucking
specifically
happened.
The back seat where this blood that they were assuming this blood is. But the dude who got the car was like, no, I think the interior was actually replaced before I had gotten the car, so there wasn't any blood back there. I would have said something if there was blood back there, obviously.
Great.
So Rick Stone reviews everything that he can, and he says, like, all of this evidence proves that beyond a reasonable doubt, Otis Toole is guilty of murdering Adam Walsh. He also says that based off of all of Toole's previous confessions for other cases, he is notorious for confessing for things and then recanting those confessions but they're actually crimes that he has committed. Yep. Toole ends up dying in prison from cirrhosis and AIDS.
Good.
Which, I mean...
Good.
One hell of a fate for you, sir.
Yeah, rotten hell motherfucker. And that's the thing, guys. Even if for any reason this one, like some miracle he was still a serial killer for lots of other people. Mm-hmm. He was still a horrible, horrible person.
Right. And then on December 16th, 2008, the Hollywood, Florida police chief announces that the case is closed and they are formally naming Otis Toole as Adam's murderer, even though they can't formally charge him with anything because he's already freaking dead at this point. But he's the murderer. And Adam's family really accepts this as the outcome for this case. Based off of everything that they've heard, they really do believe that he is the one who murdered their son. So, and you kind of have our
I got some rando extra shit. Yeah. Okay. So one of the things I wanted to back up in the case a little bit, There was, okay, so we know about the teenage security girl, Kathy, kicking that group of kids out. And that is the most widely accepted. This is what happened. That's what's in the police files. That's where Ottis says he, found him outside because that happened. There was another witness, Vernon Jones, who was 9 years old at the time. In 1996, so when he was 24, he started telling this story, and it's always been the same, that he remembers playing a baseball video game with Adam in the store, and he was waiting for his turn, and Adam was really big into baseball. He was 6. That was his jam. And so he was spending a lot of time on that game. This Vernon Jones says that he saw a man standing back in the aisle beckoning to Adam to come with him. And then he saw Adam leave with this strange man. And Vernon went on to play another video game, so he doesn't remember details of what that man looked. So you're going to have a whole lot of little extra things that came into this because those cops didn't show up quickly. The store employees didn't call the cops right away when this kid was missing. So you're going to have all these random stories that is that a rabbit hole we go down to look for more evidence or not?
Right.
So that's when, they didn't. That's something he keeps claiming, happened for real, but that, there's no proof. We haven't traced that. There's also no cameras or hard evidence or a record of the games being played to know if, how you log on to some of the games and you put your little initial.
Kim says she didn't know they had baseball video games back then unless it was maybe at an arcade. So this is right around the time that the Atari 2600 came out.
Yep.
So Sears had the little like kiosk thing that you could play the video games on, just to kind of sample them. And Adam was standing there around those video games at the time of his disappearance.
Yep. So yeah, but they check those games and there's not, how you can like leaderboard put in your initials. Mm-hmm. Something like that. There's no record of that. There's no cameras. There's no hard evidence proving when he was there, when he left the store, anything like that. We just know that when his mom came back, that aisle was empty. And then we did that. Okay, so when the cops finally did get involved, they went over to the mall and they got the Walshes and said, we need you to come with us across the street and give some evidence and, take your statement. What did he say?
He was just asking me about dinner.
Oh, what are y'all having? Y'all are having good food.
We're having stuffed clams.
God damn. I had Chinese. You guys, my plate was a plate of fried beige. It was delicious. Okay. Joey, mind your business. Okay, so the cops, they came over, they got Mr. and Mrs. Walsh and said, come with us across the street to give a statement.
Right.
They left their car door unlocked and they left a note for Adam just in case he came back to the car. And the note said, stay in the car. Mommy and Daddy are looking for you.
Right.
And they went across the street to give their police statement.
Right. Marissa said, who kicks a 6-year-old out of a store without finding their parents?
Okay, so this was in the beginning. There was a group of teenagers standing around the game, and part of that group of like 10 to 13-year-olds, the security guard was a teenage girl, and these boys were causing a ruckus. And so that teenage girl kicked this group of kids out of the store, and it looked like Adam was just part of the group, and he went with the boy. And it was he's only 6. So who is he to tell an older adult girl, I'm not with them. I'm supposed to be with my mom. He just went with the boys where he was being told.
Right.
I know. And nowadays we know better.
Yeah,
and it's because of shit like this that we know better. And that like helicopter parenting became a big thing because
definitely. Kim says she's having a matcha tea smoothie and a tamale pie is in the oven. Ooh.
I want that. So Kim, I know we're on a social distancing, but whereabouts you live, I'm going to come over for dinner. Second
you
dinner.
You can have yard dinner.
Yeah. We get picnic in your yard for that tamale pie.
Social distance dinner.
Okay. The other thing me and you were talking about was his dad was Richie Rich.
Yeah.
And he had these friends that not a lot of people have. And had they been a family of color or had they been more poor, this wouldn't have gotten the coverage.
Absolutely not.
His dad had a friend, Les Davy, who flew in from the Bahamas as soon as he heard on the radio that this family's child was missing. Him, neighbors, and then 47 of Hollywood Citizens Crime Watch started sweeping the area, looking in the connect, and doing a search that this family, was able to put together. They also printed up hundreds of thousands of flyers that it was Les Davies. He got Delta Airlines involved by having the Delta pilots hand out flyers so that people could look for him in the airport terminals and see if he was on those flyers.
Yeah.
Kim, Jesus. Okay. So, like, that's not a normal thing. And then his dad, Mr. Walsh, was in marketing. And one of the things they said was because of that marketing background, he knew how to market his child's disappearance to where it would stay in the forefront of the news.
Yeah.
Because a lot of what you'll see now is, people will post on Facebook. It may get shared by some people, but you're not going to see it on your nightly news that these kids are missing. His way of doing that was they offered a reward first, and then he kept upping the reward.
Right. So
and every time you up that reward, yeah. What did it get up to? Do you know?
I think it was 50.
It got up really high. Well, and that's the thing. Every time it went up, more wackadoos came out of God knows where with theories, and they have to chase down all these fucking
I want to say it started at 10 to find him alive, and then they started upping it because they found the head, and they started upping it to see if they had anybody who was in connection with this murder now.
There you go. Yep. So speaking of wackadoos, what is her name? Mickey Dane inserted herself into this case. She was a psychic.
Oh, my homie, the psychic.
It's a psychic. It's psychic time.
She was a crazy person.
Yeah. And she was reaching out to her other psychic friends and saying, you guys need to come down to Florida. It's real sunny and nice. And you could start your business out of, these resorts and hotels, and people get that sunshine, come read some fortune, and really pushing her business over this boy's case.
Yeah. And all of her, everything she had told them was that that he was still alive.
Yeah.
Mind you.
Constantly false hope.
They're his parents are holding on to that. Mind you, when they found his head and the autopsy had the results that he was asphyxiated. He was asphyxiated days before his head was found, while his parents are still searching, and these freaking psychics are like, no, he's definitely still alive. As a matter of fact, here, come meet all of my 50 other friends who are psychics, and they said he's alive too.
Yeah. And she went through, I believe, the Sears store with his mom, and was just kind of like, oh, he went out that way. Mm-hmm. That kind of lackadaisical bullshit. Yeah. And you know what? But this is someone that's giving you hope that your child is still alive. So the parents are hanging on to that. Mm-hmm. So that's one of those. John Walsh, the dad, made up the flyers. He made up flyers for his friends in the airlines and stuff like that to be posted around the neighborhoods, around town. And it had his little photo, his height and weight, the date he went missing, and a little more information on him. These posters are still used, and they're based off of this original flyer. Those are the ones you see in the back wall of Walmart, and you see it grocery stores and stuff like that. Because of his marketing degree, he knew what should be on these, and he made sure that that's the proper information that needs to get out. They still use those.
Yeah.
Let's see. The Good Morning America thing. Use that toilet flushing.
Toilet flush? What?
We did that. Okay, blue van. Okay. So, like we said, there was a made-for-TV movie.
Kim said she recognizes the story. John Walsh with America's Most Wanted.
Yep. Yes! Okay, so we have clearly, all these little hunts are going on. You get the movie, the made-for-TV movie, Adam. And then the dad published his book. Can you find the title of that book? I've lost it. It's Tears of Rage or something.
Yeah, that's it. Tears of Rage. So this is on the screen right now is the movie.
Yep.
And Tears of Rage by... Oh, that's a huge photo. Sorry about that, everyone. Oh, I moved us. Joey, I'm doing bad things here. Joey's
smart.
Joey's like, what is going on? I messed up. Okay, anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm not important.
That is enormous. Jesus. Tears of Rage.
You're moving everything.
Right, that's what I said. I moved it. But I'm not important. So Tears of Rage by John Walsh.
Tears of Rage. I was listening to the Unsolved Murders, True Crime Stories.
Yes, True Crime
What's it
Stories.
called?
Yes, Unsolved Murders, True Crime Stories
Parcast.
from Parcast.
Parcast Network. And that podcast, it's a two-parter on Adam Walsh, and most of their information they used and stuff like that came from this book.
Yes.
And a lot of it involves details like, so his parents had gone through all of this stuff. They had the vigil, then they had the funeral with an empty casket. You know, they'd been putting themselves in the spotlight trying to get attention for this case and had not taken time to like decompress and really let that grief set in. So one of their friends let them use his home in Ithaca to take some time. And in that book, Mr. Walsh mentions how he thought of suicide multiple times when the grief finally hit him. And the wife says that in their bedroom, there's a bathroom in the bedroom. She taped up a picture of Adam on the bathroom mirror, and they could see it from the bed. And so her and her husband would just lay in bed for hours at a time, completely distraught, and look at that picture and just try to imagine that he was still there.
Right.
So if you guys want to learn more about the story, and God forbid, like all the background, Adam's dad's dad and why he is the way he is, his early life, like his father's life, and then Adam's early life, how he grew up as like an old soul child. Yeah. That's all in that book. So check that book out. I think you can get it on Audible as well. Yeah. But yeah, we want to talk to you guys about Code Adam, which is something I mentioned in the beginning. The Code Adam program, which now every time you go, once this is all over, and you can go to Walmart safely, and you can go back to all your department stores.
Doesn't pop up on the screen. Sorry.
Is it? No. You're going to look for this Code Adam logo once she gets it up there.
It's up there on the screen. Well, it's up on my screen. It's not up on their screen yet.
Eventually. You're going to look at your store, specifically like Walmart, and there's this Code Adam logo. Any store that has a Code Adam logo is their employees are supposed to be trained in these procedures. So let's see. The program was originally created by Walmart stores in cooperation with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children in 1994. And it's since been implemented by many other stores, like I said, JCPenney, and facilities throughout the United States. And the procedure trains employees on various venues to systematically look for lost children in the crucial minutes following a suspected loss. So the specifics will vary store to store, but the procedures in general are this. I go into a store, I go up to an employee and I say, I'm missing my daughter, yay high, wearing a pink dress. The employee should ask for a detailed description of the child, including their name, age, gender, race, height, weight, hair, eye color, anything they can, write it down. The name is requested for identifications only and is never announced since it may provide a potential abductor with that kid's name.
And I'm going to cut you off really quick.
Yeah.
Kim says that she lost her toddler in a Walmart once, and they did a Code Adam, and that's how they found him.
See? Yep. We had to do multiple codes at JCPenney. And like I said, we were not attacked, thank God. So we had one entrance in and out of our store that was in the main store front door by the registers. So following this was easy for us. You go up, you lock those doors, you immediately get the information. You're on the walkie-talkies with everybody. You spread out all over the store looking inside of, like you said, the clothing where kids can hide in those. Looking in those, looking through the kids' toy department, looking through the bathroom, find that kid.
So she said that she was totally freaked out. They got a full description, and then they quietly searched the store.
Exactly. And that's why I said we did walkie-talkies. So it was not announced over the head way to where other patrons knew what was going on.
Right. Well, I imagine if the person is still in the store who has taken this child, if this is a kidnapping,
if that's the case,
and you hear an announcement over the PA system, like, you're going to freak out. You're going to run wherever you possibly can to hide with this child.
Yep. So the official things are you get the description. The employee uses the nearest in-house phone within whatever to communicate a Code Adam and broadcast it. We got on walkie-talkies and just said, we're activating code Adam. Designated employees monitor the entrances and exits. So like I said, we had the front doors. So whoever was at that front register just said, excuse me, and went and stood by the front doors to watch everybody. If the child is not located within 10 minutes, the police are called. You have 10 minutes to find that kid, and then you call the cop. Yeah. If the child is found accompanied by someone other than the parent or guardian, some stores allow employees to make reasonable efforts to delay their departure, provided it does not put the employee or the child. And then other stores simply ask the employees to note as much detail as they can about the adult, including a plate. Okay. And yeah,
makes sense to me.
That's me. If I was that employee, I'd be tackling.
Angela.
I'm just that asshole.
Angela's taking these people down. Ooh, silence your phone.
It came through my laptop. Barker for shame.
Kim said they found her son very quickly.
Good. So there's that. The ones we had trouble with were so I was in Houston, and we had a huge population that only spoke Spanish. Ooh. And so trying to make sure that each one of our supervisors knew basic, so where they came up and said, my son or daughter is missing, we could immediately get over whoever spoke Spanish, and understood the basics to get those details from them. And then I was that kid that was yelling at the lost children, so I'd find a kid walking around by themselves and just look at them and go, ¿Dónde está tu mamá? ¿Dónde está tu mamá? And they're like, she's there. And I'm like, go with your mom. Go with mom.
Right.
But I constantly yelling at kids. Where's your parent? What are you doing?
People
Where's
are
your
crazy
adult?
out here in these streets, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, my favorite thing is yelling at kids. Where's your adult? Okay. Where's your adult? Who do you belong to? Where are you supposed to be? Mm-hmm. Okay, so that was Code Adam. And then, let's see, it was right up here. The Missing Children's Act. Mm-hmm. So Adam's parents started the Adam Walsh Outreach Center for Children just 4 days after their son's funeral. And they lobbied for the Missing Children's Act, which, enacted in 1982, required entry of missing children data into the FBI's National Crime Information Center database, the NCI. In 1980, John Walsh would co-found the federally funded National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And then 4 years later, he started hosting America's Most. Who mentioned that earlier? Somebody mentioned that earlier.
America's Most Wanted. Kim mentioned it.
Yeah. In 1994, big box retailers like Walmart started implementing Code Adam, and that was, provided measures for store clerks when a child is reported missing. And in 2006, George W. Bush signed the Adam Walsh Child Protection and Safety Act of 2006, yes, which expanded the National Sex Offender Registry, and it created a National Child Abuse Registry. So all these things that we're just taking, we think they've always been there.
They have not.
Some of these things have not been there, but like 30 years, 30, 40 years. That's it.
So
the 70s.
The Adam Walsh Child Protection and Safety Act of 2006 was what I had mentioned in the beginning of the this recording, because I talked about how, like, me personally, for my job doing social work, that is something that we use all the time when we have caregivers. If you are trying to adopt a child or take placement of a child, if you have lived outside of Florida in the last 5 years, we do this Adam Walsh Child Protection and Safety Act. We do that search. And in that search, we can then contact any state that you have lived in prior to the last 5 years. And we can say, hey, what's your information on this person? And then we pull that. And actually, I have a lot of cases where this has kind of caused us to kind of have to halt on adoptions and things like that, because we do find something in somebody's background. And this is not like, this doesn't have like a statute of limitations on it. Like, I can pull up your information from the first time you ever had a child to now. And that's whether that child is adopted or that is your own personal child. I can pull up all of that information on you. I can pull up whether you're a registered sex offender in another state who is not registered in Florida.
Right.
What? Oh. And then the NCIC, that's like a normal, like when when you do like a fingerprint or something like that, when you do fingerprints on people, that's where that information comes from. You do an NCIC background check on that.
Yep.
Yep.
Dang.
So here you go. Out there, if you're a secret murderer who's watching our podcast.
Yeah. We up for you.
Yeah, we know what you're doing.
Yep. And we won't feel bad when you get caught and die in jail.
I might actually do a podcast on you. You never know.
Okay, let me see what this was. Okay, so we're going to be posting links.
Yep.
That, but there's a beautiful article from the Time. And the quote I have here is, "The truth is, stranger abductions are rare." And that's from James Allen Fox, a criminologist at Northwestern University. And in 2014, the FBI report noted that 332 children went missing in 2014. The fact that the number of missing children being killed has been declining for the past 15 to 20 years. And he says, "My guess is that this is due to cell phones and the changing nature of youth recreation and risk-taking." Yeah. Like I said, this created a lot of helicopter parents. When you hear something like this that takes over the nation, you're like, that mom was in the store a couple aisles over from her son, who she said, stay put. He knew where she was. She knew where he was.
She was gone
maybe
for
5
all
to
of 10 minutes.
Yeah. So now you would never dream, like Marissa said, yeah, I can't believe they pulled out of the. Yeah, now. But back then, he was just, a kid screwing around with other kids. And you get them out of the store. Their parents.
Right.
These older kids. That would never happen now. Now you have people like me going, where's your mom? Where's your adult? Where do you belong? What the hell? Let's see. But cell phones. A lot of these kids have cell phones. You know where your kid's at. You can send it, you're with their friends. You're going to check in with me. Mm-hmm. Even like we did, this is in between 2000 and 2004. Our youth group would go to like Schlitterbahn in Texas, a big water park. It's huge. And we'd have one table of adults and we'd go off in little groups of teenagers to go have fun at the water park. But every hour we had to come back and check in. And we've been able to change that now. Like when groups do that, you have lockers all over the place and you put your cell phone and you can cell phone check in and say, I've still got so-and-so, we're here. Mm-hmm. And you can say, okay, send me a picture of you guys. That way I know you're all.
Well, I mean, even so, you think of like, what were those things called? Firefly phones? I don't know if you remember a Firefly phone. For the kids. Yeah, for
Where
kids.
They can like only call mom, dad, grandma.
You can only call certain people, but like you could never turn the GPS location off on them.
Yes.
And I think about like now, like how they have like smartwatches for adults. They make them for children now, where you can like always have the GPS on them, so you always know where your child is.
Yep. And that's one of the things on here. It says cell phones have helped track victims using GPS, while victims have been able to use the device to call or text for help. The Adam Walsh case created a nation of petrified kids and paranoid parents, says Richard Morin. He's a criminologist at Mount Holyoke College. Mm-hmm. Holyoke. Kids used to be able to go out and organize a stickball game, and now all play and the social lives of children are arranged and controlled by the parents.
Let me tell you something.
Tell me something.
My dad didn't let me spend the night at nobody's house.
Oh, yeah. No. Look, I was able to spend the night all over the place. I would never let my kids spend the night at friends' houses.
I was not allowed to spend the night anywhere. Mm-mm. No matter how much I begged and pleaded and cried to my parents. That was not a thing. Like, I think I was maybe like 12 or 13 the first time I could spend the night at my friend's house.
Yeah. Because you don't know. And that's the thing. You think you know. But, like this said, a lot of these stranger abductions and stranger on stranger violence, that is the rarest of the crimes that are out there. Most of it is going to be, your family, friends, neighbors, your sport coach, stuff like that. So you go in to spend the night at your friend's house. Their parents could be God knows who.
Right. But I mean, you think about this, and like this case in particular, like this was 100% a crime of opportunity here. Like he had said to himself, I want my own kid. And he just happened to be driving by the mall that day, and Adam happened to be standing outside.
The cutest kid in the world happened to be standing outside.
And he said he wanted a son, and look, it just fell right in his lap, didn't it?
Yeah. What other pictures did we have? Sorry, photo album.
What'd you say,
Diction.
Joey?
The worst convenience shopper ever.
Joey's such a dick.
Oh, Jesus.
He said the worst convenience shopper ever. I was privately messaging Angela about what happened to me in 1981 when I was 13 years old, looked about 11, but had a stranger attempt on me. And look, like...
See?
This is crazy.
Yep.
But I think at that point in time, as you said, there weren't all of these things in place. So those like crimes of opportunity really did happen more often because there was nobody there to really check in on people.
Well, and like my mom told me, I think it was in the and
your mic broke up for a second.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Back in the day. No, I'm kidding. We are not going to do that kind of stuff.
ASMR. Here we go.
ASMR time. Then I tell you a story. No, okay, so back. What?
Just kidding.
No,
we are not
Joey.
ASMRing right now.
Okay, good. Joey, no.
Yes, I was sent to get my sister to come home for dinner. See? Like,
See?
you don't
Okay,
think
well,
about
and that's the
stuff
thing.
like that.
No, because I want to say it was the 50s or the 60s. Home truck, and he called her and whoever she was with, and she goes, he had no pants on, and he just flashed a group of kids and then drove off. And the thing is, who do you tell? You go home and say, Mom, I just saw some. Like, you're a child,
Right?
You don't know what just happened to you,
Right?
And that's something now that like hopefully a lot of parents talk to their kids about.
Jeffrey
and tell them
Dahmer's in this
if
picture.
something- Is he?
Mm-hmm.
He's on the right. He's just a bland ass motherfucker.
Jeffrey Dahmer, the
You
people
can't tell me
number.
that.
Like, he looks like
Anybody.
every other... I'm sorry, this is going to sound so bad. He looks like any other common white dude that you would see at a gas station. Like,
Yeah, and that stash, it's not like he had that mustache all the time. Him without the
he did
mustache,
not.
too, it's like, who the hell is that?
Right.
Is that like, who is that? You never know. It could be. Okay. What else was there? I covered, so that was all.
Yeah, we covered everything on this.
This is one we were talking about how not to judge victims, but his dad really has benefited a lot off of this. Like we said, there was a movie, there was a book. Then he got, into all of this and did a lot of good things for our community and established things like Code Adam and the child protection, all that.
And then he became the host of America's Most Wanted.
Yes, which has helped a lot, and people know
really
him
has.
because of that.
There are a ton of cases out there that I will say from research on my own cases that I might be interested in. Not that I am diving deep into web sleuths, I would never. But
just for fun. You got time.
But cases like that, you do hear a lot of cases like that where people are found because of America's Most Wanted, and they're like, "Oh, I was sitting at home watching what it used to come on Fox, I think." Like the Fox like TV station or whatever, and it would come on and it'd be like America's Most Wanted with John Walsh, and they pop up these like top 10 most wanted people, and a lot of cases have been solved because of this.
Yeah,
so
because they're sitting there and they're telling you all about this thing. They maybe have a picture, and you're like, "That's my neighbor," but he calls himself Jim.
Right. Yeah, there are a lot of cases.
That's crazy. So that's for all of you guys that aren't true crime heads like us. I hope that, you learned something today from us, going through this Adam Walsh, because it's stuff that you've heard of. You've seen the Code Adam stickers. Mm-hmm. You've heard of the Network for Missing and Exploited Children. Right. But it's all because this little boy went missing from a series in, 79, was it?
81.
81. When he was 6. Sorry. Yeah. There's numbers all over the place. In the early 80s, and how much it's changed and all the other stuff that's come since then. Mm-hmm. But if you want to go down a real rabbit hole, look into shit like the 911 network has not always existed.
Yep.
That used to not be a thing that you could pick up your phone and call 911. Someone had to start that.
Yeah, there's a lot of really wild things that you can start looking into. From having the job that I have now, I've learned a lot of really wild things about cases that have kind of caused all of these other things to happen. And as we said at the beginning of this, we are definitely going to start looking into a couple of these cases just so, people have some more information on these cases. It is definitely interesting stuff, but it's also kind of helpful to know where these things stem from. It's definitely interesting that you're going to see that probably most of these come from cases that happened in the 70s and 80s. Thank you, Kim. Mm-hmm. Kim said we had a very interesting talk.
Oh, thank you. Kim, what is that girl's name? Okay. You'll want to listen when we cover...
Oh, the Amber Alert?
Yeah, what was her last name? Real girl. Man, you type in Amber Alert, all it says is Amber Alert.
It definitely just comes up on...
Amber Alert, real story. Amber Hagerman.
Yes.
When we do Amber Hagerman,
Texas?
We'll tag you on that tip.
Yeah, Texas.
Yeah, Arlington, Texas.
Yes.
And that was in 96.
Yep.
So you have all of this stuff with Adam Walsh happening, the networks and everything, but it takes Amber's mom going through and getting all this stuff done to where now we have the Amber. And then now you guys, stuff had to change so that goes out on people's cell phone, all at once during, it doesn't matter where you are, church service, a play, a movie, everybody's phone gets that notification.
Mm-hmm. We have a lot of them here in Florida. Unfortunately, Florida has a really wild amount of abduction. How do I say this word? Abduction. Yes, she is the Amber Alert. Yes, correct.
Yes.
But yeah, so we have a lot of these abductions here in Florida, and we do have a lot of legislation that gets passed because of this. So I think we're going to be covering a lot more. I think Ange and I, when we first started this, we had joked about let's do cases from Texas and cases from Florida because that's us, that's where we're from. But it's kind of really spiraled into a weird obsession.
Yeah, it seems to be working out. What are the odds?
Fall into cases from Florida and Texas. We don't do it on purpose. We stumble upon them.
Well, they're also two weird ass states.
Mm-hmm.
It's us, Texas, Florida, and California.
Yeah, you have California man, you have Texas man, and then you got Florida man.
Yeah, because California in the 70s, serial killer time, man, all over the place.
Serial killer haven.
All the Pacific Northwest too. Serial killers running amok.
I'm thinking that's probably going to be a nice little series break for us. I think you guys have kind of stumbled upon, and this is the great time for us just to fall right into live streaming in our first season here, where we had decided to kind of start with unsolved cases or unsolved cases,
Yeah.
But we are definitely going to start talking more about, cases specifically in summer of 1969 and cases specifically from the 1970s. So if you guys have some topics in those kind of time frames, 27 Club, summer of 1969, cults, and the 70s,
always,
right?
Y'all, always cults. The best. Cults are the best.
Definitely pop those into the comments or, again, slide into our DMs. So we can...
Tell us what you want to hear about.
So he's shaking his head at me for saying that. But,
well, that's the thing. Like we said, you can ask us anything. You request anything. We may not reply to you, but, you can ask.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. Mm-hmm. We would love to see what you're actually interested in, so that stuff that you'll be excited to tune in for and want to share on your feed with your family and stuff.
Holy crap. Did you see Kim's comment?
Holy shit.
San Diego, California.
See?
California is wild.
Everywhere.
I'm really sorry that happened to you, Kim.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I know. Well, and that's me. I'm like, good, back to back.
Jesus
Great.
Christ.
Well, and that's I was going to say, Kim, if you have time and listen to podcasts, the Murder Squad, it's two former investigators, Paul Holes and why can't I remember his name? The other guy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they go through right now cases. So let's say there was another case in Connecticut, in Groton, Connecticut. that may be connected to something else. And they cover some of these cases, and they on like their Facebook page put up photos and have details, and they're asking the public right now to help them solve some of these cases. And I was gonna say one of them got solved because this girl went on ancestry.com, one of those DNA places, submitted her DNA, that got turned over to the police. They were able to find like her dad's second grandpa, something like that, was connected DNA to somebody else, and they helped solve a murder. One of their lists, they caught a murderer that way. So there's lots of stuff out here. Gratin? I'm dumb, Kim.
So not like
I'm
potatoes au gratin, but like gratin.
Gratin. Yeah. Thank you. But that's the thing. What if what happened connected with somebody else and you just don't know yet?
I mean, that's how the Golden State Killer was found, so.
Fuck that guy, Jesus.
He was old as fuck, but guess what? He went to jail. Yeah,
he did. You don't get to fake elderly.
Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah. Oh, I need a walker suddenly. No, you don't.
Once a serial killer, always a serial killer. I started watching Wild Wild Country on Netflix. Cult Orama. Definitely check it out. My mind was blown. It was a huge cult in the 80s. Okay.
Yeah. Isn't that the dream? Cults are so fun.
They are so creepy. Creepy is really the best way to phrase that.
There are so many current cults active right now. You just got to know how to spot the sign.
Angela.
I stop it there. They're active. What? Scientology.
That's so I think, Ange, we had talked about maybe going live midweek to hold like some extra discussions. If there are any questions or comments that you guys have about this case or any of our previous ones, we post every Sunday, except for the first week that we did this, where we did a Friday and a Sunday.
We didn't know what we were doing. We're super optimistic.
Just trying to figure it out. We were trying to do twice a week like that, and that wasn't working. But we are definitely going to start kind of doing like a midweek just to kind of check in, especially while we're in the middle of this pandemic and people are at home and there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. It's nice to have a good place to kind of check in and just kind of forget about what's going on outside your front door for a minute. So feel free. I think we'll probably do Wednesday. I don't know what time yet. We'll post it later. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. We'll let y'all know. Make sure that when you're on our Facebook page, like right now, you guys should have seen a prompt that was like, here, get notified when Crushed and Pressed podcast goes live next. Turn that on. Go ahead. That way you'll get a notification in your Facebook that we've gone live. On our Facebook page as well, make sure at the top that you are subscribed. There's an option where you can click it and see first. So make sure you click that, and then every time we have something, you'll see it right away in your notification.
And I don't know if you saw Kim's comment. Okay.
Yeah.
But you said it right.
Okay, let's see. The guy was a younger man, late teens and early 20s. I was super scared. Yeah, of course, frozen where I couldn't fall, paralyzed. But then I started noticing his hands were shaking. As I was one of his early victims, I was able to start moving and then escape. However, he would now be in his late 50s or 60s. Right? Oh, and God. Somewhere out... I know. That's so fucked up.
Probably somewhere out there, like...
Man, I'm so glad you're fine, Kim.
Yeah, Jesus. Listen, I gotta say, like, I mean, well, wait, you're a millennial, so we're all millennials here.
We're millennials, yeah. I'm on the upper end of...
You're that way, and I'm this way.
We're in that cutoff on both ends.
Yes. But I gotta say, like, a lot of these, like, generations before us, they had some wild shit to deal with. Like, yeah. Like I said, I gotta say, like, now, like, growing up, like, I didn't have none of this shit to really deal with. Like, my parents really didn't let me go nowhere.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that my parents were helicopter parents, but I'm saying, because I mean, Mom and Dad, if you're watching this, I swear to God, you're not helicopter parents.
Secretly hiding out if they're watching. They're gonna watch it after.
Yeah, and they're gonna be like, excuse me.
Not how we do things in the islands.
Exactly. I'm not saying that my a little bit of a helicopter parent. Yeah, I'm not saying that my parents were helicopter parents, but I mean they really did like try to keep an eye on me when I was younger. When I got to be maybe like 15, 16, 17, they really didn't care too much, but I wasn't going anywhere. I was going to Steak and Shake.
I was totally safe.
I was
That's me. I was at the
Steak and
playhouse
Shake and like walking around Walmart or going to rehearsal. I was at band practice till 10 o'clock at night. Like, I was kind of a loser.
If we were, if we were in a home, we were at the playhouse. My mom knew exactly where we were. Well, and that's because I'm what? Because it's even earlier. Same thing. So when I was little, we didn't do this on a live yet because we did it with the
she's
first
probably our parents' age.
My mom is 64, Kim.
I'm not going to tell you how old my mom is because you wouldn't even believe it. Just kidding. No. Yeah. I mean, I'm just not going to tell you. But what'd you say?
I go, Kim is not 60.
Kim, how are you 64? I don't
know. Because I'm going, no. I don't know. What do I know? No, because it was the first Jennifer. So guys, we recorded a couple of actual like audio podcasts without video before we started doing this and decided this is what we're gonna do.
Kim says she's 52.
You're fine. Yeah, you're good. So closer to flip. Yeah.
She's around my dad's age. Yeah, so I guess.
There you go. So your parent. Okay. But yeah, one of the things we talked about in one of these other topics was how like when I was in when I was in third grade, I would walk me and my brother, who was first grade, a block and a half to our bus stop in the morning by ourselves. And my mom had trained us. We had a family word. Yeah. So if like a friend or family, if somebody pulled up and said, "Hey, your mom sent me to pick you up," we'd have to say, "What's the password?" And if they didn't know the password, we were not to get in the car with them. And then my mom did the same thing where if you feel like a car is following you, do not look at them, do not make eye contact, get to a neighbor's house or get to our house as soon as possible. And she would test. So she would pull up slowly, creeping behind the Suburban, and if we turned around, she'd start screaming at us for turning around and looking. So we had,
So I didn't have to worry about that because, like, one, I went to private school, so my parents just drove me to school. Oh, my mom drove me to school, and then my grandparents picked me up from school. And if not, like, when I was in high school, my mom drove me to school, and either my mom picked me up or, like, my boyfriend at the time or, like, one of my friends would drive me home, so... It wasn't like if I had band practice or something, my boyfriend would drive me home because my mom was not coming out to my high school at 10:30 at night to come pick me up.
Yeah.
But I didn't really have to worry about that kind of stuff. Like I wasn't like standing around waiting for somebody. I never rode a bus, so
it's so much fun. Oh, whatever. Bus riding is fun.
I mean, I could have. Like they gave me the option to like drive to the nearest bus stop, but my mom was like, nah. She ain't getting on the bus.
We're just gonna take her in a car that has seatbelts.
Yeah, exactly. And it was also great because I didn't have to get up at 5 a.m. like the rest of my friends.
That's true.
I lucked out. I got to sleep for an extra hour. Look at me.
Jesus. Okay, guys, so like we said, send us your questions. You can leave them here in the comments under this. You can send them private messages, slide into our DMs. You can also get us through Instagram, Twitter, all that shit, and send us questions you have, ideas you have, topics you want us to talk, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. All of our social media is right there on the screen. Facebook /Crust and Pressed Pod, Instagram @CrushedAndPressed_pod, Discord. I had to remember what that was.
That's us right now.
Discord. That's us right now. We're on that. That's Discord. Crushed and Pressed podcast. Yo, my words are not great today.
Diction.
I know. Or Twitter @Crushed. That's the end. Crushed and Pressed. You guys need to know the difference. Because some of them have the ampersand and some of them do not. I'm sorry.
Yes. Well, and guys, we know the font's funky. It's not crushed and pressed poo.
Crushed and pressed poo.
We do not crush and press poo. It's the pod.
It's pod.
The
P-O-D.
pod. Okay, so let's see. I guess before, are we ready to wrap stuff?
I think we're about ready to wrap stuff up. Again, follow us on social media. Wednesday sometime, possibly. It'll definitely be in the evening because I do still have to work. So it'll be after 5, but definitely before 9.
Yes. And if you guys, for funsies, want to go watch that Tiger King documentary thing that's out there on Netflix, we could maybe chat about that shit.
We can definitely chat about that. Or like any other ones. Like if you guys want to chat about Evil Genius, I've watched that. Have you watched that, Ange? All right,
yes,
we can chat about any of those things. Especially like the ones on Netflix. I think most people have Netflix. Hulu will hold off on that really quick.
Yeah, I don't have Hulu. But yeah, any of the Netflix ones I'm up on. If you have other podcasts that you listen to and want us to listen or talk about topics they did in our way, we would definitely do that.
Yeah, just let us know.
So aside from that, let's end with some positive, because we just talked about a really horrible thing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go first. Okay. So positive thing. I'm trapped at home, and I am a extroverted introvert. So I can handle being at home, and I can mind my own business, make my own schedule, do my own thing, bother no one. But then I start losing and I have to bother people. And bless him, Trevor is in his office doing his homework, getting work done, and I'm showing up every 20 minutes going, come out here and do it. So I've had to find something else to do. So I'm a hoop dance performer. If none of y'all know what that is, it's fancy hula hooping. I'm like a circus. So I'm getting back into hooping every day. And I did a couple of our theaters out here, little community theaters, are doing fundraisers. So for one of them, I went out and did a hoop dance video with me lip syncing to a song from Chicago and put that up. And it's one that's where I have to go through and make up the choreography, focus on, do the thing. And it's really been a nice break from just being in my house and doing chores.
We can definitely do that, Marissa. I will definitely do that.
Marissa, have you seen, there's an image where they take that one guy from the show, looks just like. He does. Just like. It could be.
Anyway.
Maybe we'll pop that up later. But yeah, so hula hooping. And on top of that, so I am starting a challenge, and I forget how long it is, but it's every single day. There's a hoop video that me and 3 of my friends in Texas are going to be doing, where we watch the video, we do the activity, we get together and say, we did it. How did you do? So I have something to check in with every day.
Okay. Well, positivity. I am working, and I am kind of like just trying to develop my own schedule. Joey happened to be home with me on Friday, so I told him, I was like, this is my schedule for the day. This is what I do, and I do this every single morning. And he kind of laughed at me because he was like, that's totally counterproductive. Like, I told him, I was like, I get up in the morning and I make my tea, and then I think to myself, where's my phone? But I know my phone is always next to my laptop because that's where I put it. And then I finish my tea, and then I say to myself, okay, let me just go stand outside and think about my day, And I think that's like my time to kind of just refocus myself. And it's not necessarily my time to they did DNA test on the daughter. Jeff is her first husband. Stop. No, they did not.
They need to do. They need because it's true.
But that's kind of my time to refocus, and I'm a firm believer in meditation and things like that. And I think that everybody during this time, if meditation is not your thing, like formal style meditation, I'm not asking you to sit down, crisscross applesauce on the floor and, come to and center yourself and do your different meditations, things like that. But I'm definitely saying it's really important during this time to recenter yourself and take a moment, definitely take 5 minutes, 10 minutes for yourselves to just kind of check in with what you personally need. I think a lot of us get caught up every day in I'm just gonna chill and watch TV and do whatever, but it's super important to take time for yourself and make sure that you personally are feeling your best, because your mental health might start to go a little crazy.
Yeah. Check in with your own brain. Well, and that's what I told Trevor. I said, for the most part during this, because I'm assuming it's going to be longer than a month. But we'll just have to see. But it was one where I go, here, I'm going to be real productive and everything's going to be great for like a week. And then I'm a slug that just stays on that couch, not bathing, not eating right, watching Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Let me do it for one day. And then I have to get back into it,
Yep.
and go back to trying to be normal. And it's like you said, that take that 10 minutes, 5, 10 with nothing else and just close your eyes, breathe. If you need to do that while you're on the toilet, if you need to do that while you're in the shower,
Mm-hmm.
dog, but check in with your brain.
Right. Make sure you're not going crazy out there. It's hard. And
Yep.
I think a lot of people, and a lot of things that I've read, and a lot of what I'm trying to do every day is like spend some time checking in with people that are outside of my household. Like checking in with Joey
Yep.
is one thing. He's here. Angela needs to start pairing different vape flavors with new wines.
Can you imagine?
But
I was gonna say, we didn't even talk about
No.
Are you even drinking anything today, Flip? Do you have anything with
I
you?
have my fancy bottle of the finest gas station, Liberty Creek. The finest gas station, Liberty Creek. It was $6.98.
It's an essential store. It's still open.
Yeah, it's the racetrack.
Well, that's what, look, me and Marcy were joking because her sister is down in South Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, look, you're still going to be essential, Julie. Your fucking job, and we're all screwed.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, well, you guys could come work here. And I'm like, please imagine, me and Marcy is one of my best friends since high school. And we go camping once a year and we disappear and we do dumb shit together. Please imagine me and Marcy working for Julie. So we show up. She has our to-do list. We get it all done in half an hour. And then it turns into the movie Clerks. Because we are absolutely not running that store correctly for the rest of the fucking day. And at some point, Julie's going to come back. It's shut down. We're on top playing some ball. We're just not going to run that store. So God bless everybody that's out there running a gas
Right.
now.
A gas station, a freaking grocery store, whatever. Because it's not happening for me. But in these quarantine times, may Angela and I just remind you to take time and do stuff that you enjoy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please.
Please.
Okay. So you said all the social media stuff?
I said all the social media stuff.
Perfect. Okay. Can you get the song ready to go?
Ooh, what just happened? Oh, you paused for a second. It was weird.
She's going to get our song ready to go. Joey, get ready.
Oh, where's Joey? Joey. Come, Joey, come.
This is our Elvis Needs a Cookie. Joey, get ready. Thank you so much to the Last Electric Rodeo Band for to use their song Bronze Age of Horror in this episode. You can find more of their music at lastelectricrodeo.com, and tomorrow evening I'm going to be meeting with them in studio to record my song for my character because I'm singing on the new album. So once that album's available, I'll let you guys.
Yeah, we might sneak and give you a little tasty taste. All right.
Yeah.
And now, a word from Joey.
Final thought from Joey. Joey.
Boy, over here.
Easter eggs don't look like fish underwater.
What? Is that a game thing I don't know about?
It is 100% Animal Crossing thing right now, and I'm so sorry that you don't know about it. Darn. All right, peoples. Be safe. Center yourselves. Take care of yourselves out there.
Yep. Hopefully we'll see you Wednesday.
For sure.
Bye.
Bye.
racing, you're just alright. But we're hanging